Greetings, everyone. All right, we're starting a new series today in honor of, as a function of Shovavim. Uh, you know, um, the Sefer Yetzirah says there's actually two britot. There's obviously the bris as in bris milah, that's called bris hamaor, but there's also the bris haloshen. And just like the bris milah is between the two legs, the bris haloshen is between the two hands. Right? They run very parallel. And it's alluded to also in Parshas Vayigash. Ki pia medaber lechem. Yosef says to them, I'm really Yosef because look, I'm speaking to you in Hebrew. That's the Pashup shot. Rash says, Al Pi Drush, he showed them his bris milah. So you see the two are aligned, the bris haloshen and bris hamaor. So if we are involved in tikkun bris hamaor, it wouldn't be complete if we wouldn't be involved in tikkun bris haloshen. So everyone knows the famous Sefer Chafetz Chaim. Those are the halachas. But then there's what halachas of Shemiras HaLashon. Then there's what the Chafetz Chaim called Shemiras HaLashon per se. At least that's how it's referred to. They're often printed together, Chafetz Chaim and Shemiras HaLashon. But the Shemiras HaLashon per se is the Mussar. He wrote a very full-length Mussar Sefer just about to put the fear of God into you, about watching what comes out of your mouth. And how aside from you have to only make sure to speak nicely, but also if you just speak idle chatter instead of learning Torah, that's also a violation of bris haloshen. It's it's the Chafetz Chaim coming down hard, with the full full weight, and there's a lot of zars in here also. Sure enough, wherever there's real Yer Shemayim and real Yiras Chet, that's where you will find the Torah of the Rashbi, right? Since we're learning Shemiras HaLashon now, we're not going to defile our speech and talk about how the charlatans out there. But, the Torah of Rashbi is all about Yira Shemaim and Yiras Chet. So there's a lot of Zohar in here, to be sure. And this is really you're putting the fear of God into you, because there's been so many versions of the halachas of Lashon Hara. And it's all very good, but it's all, if you don't give a person the real Yiras Shamayim regarding the importance of keeping it, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, So, and the Chafetz Chaim knew it, and that's why, if he knew that if he wanted his book Chafetz Chaim on the halachas to have any kiyum, he also had to write a book on the Mussar, why to put the fear of God into you as to why it's necessary, especially as it's such a hard habit to break, Lashon Hara and Nikiyas HaLashon. This Sefer, the Shemiras HaLashon, the Mussar part of it was Rav Elchanan Wasserman's Mussar Sefer when he had in his yeshiva in Bronovich Mussar Seder. Everyone had to take a Mussar Sefer and learn. This was his Mussar Sefer, the Shemiras HaLashon of Chafetz Chaim. He used to cry like a baby when he read it. So, it's probably a little bit less popular than the halachas because it really is a bit of fire and brimstone and really can make a person a little bit uncomfortable with where he is at life and make a person really feel, I guess, for lack of a better word, scared. But here at Evan Shasia, we're not afraid of the scary stuff. It's like we do Reishis Chachma, right? We'll also do, the Mussar part of Shemiras HaLashon, the Mussar part was all part of a massive work that had two names, Chafetz Chaim and Shemiras HaLashon. Just generally speaking, the Chafetz Chaim, that name is generally applied to the halacha side. Shemiras HaLashon is generally applied to the Mussar side. But okay, all emes. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Hakdama. Right, so we always start with the introduction of if the author wrote it. So we should read it. Ksiv b'mishlei. Right, it says in Mishlei, Shomer people, Shomer mitzar zasho. A person who watches his mouth and his tongue, right? He saves his soul from pain, from sorrows. Now to give my own pshat as to why that you want to be shomer the nefesh from tzara, so you have to dafka watch your mouth and your tongue. Why do you have to watch your mouth and tongue from more than all your other organs that should not do a sin? Why is that particularly Keneged, saving the soul from pain, right? So he said, take a look at what the other Mefarshim have said. I'm going to say my piece. The Hashem has gifted me. And with this, we can also understand the other famous pasuk that the whole Sefer was based on, right? Who is a person who desires life. So he wants to see. He would love to see days. He would love to have days, to see goodness. So withhold your tongue from evil. Not because of Dafka in Zeh. So the Torah says, Dafka Chafetz Chaim and Oiv Yomim Liros Tov. Dafka, watch your lashon. Right. So near it seems to me, Ki Yadua is well known. The Kol Adam Yeshua Machavim Shtagidim Uchaniyim. A person has also 248, spiritual limbs and 365 spiritual sinews. And it's those, because he has the 248 spiritual ones and 365 spiritual ones. And then on top of them is where the body comes, with its physical 248 organs and its physical 365 sinews. It's amazing. Bashgacha Pratis. I am making this video right after I just did number 32 from my Reishis Chachma videos. And we just learned the exact same thing, because the neshama has to have a tzura parallel to the tzura of the guf, if one is going to fit in the other. So so neshama has its 248 spiritual organs, 365 spiritual sinews, and therefore and through that it could be enveloped by the 248 physical organs and 365 physical sinews. As opposed to Basar Talbisheni, right? Uba'atzamas Vagidim Tisachacheni. Right, the pasuk says, you cloak me, you clothe me with skin and flesh, and with bones and sinews. You also cover me. All right. So it comes out that on the inside you are the spiritual 248 and spiritual 365, and the physical ones are just the outer clothing. All right, Shizkir Abe Akasav Or V'Basar V'Gidin Vatzomos. So you see that the Torah mentioned or, skin, basar, flesh, gidim, the sinews, vatzomos, and the bones. Lokol rak b'shem levush, and they're all referred to as types of clothing, outer layers, right? Levush v'schach, garments and like coverings. And so the should be a good sign. Giving nachas ruach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right. So now the organs and the sinews are, and the bones and the nachas. Right. So all these things are just clothing. Right. And who is it clothing? Right, it's clothing the soul that's inside of you. Shehu etzem adam, because the soul is the real essence of person. So now in every spiritual organ of the nefesh, you have, dressed on top of it, the physical organ that is, by the same name. And the physical organ fits over the spiritual organ like clothing fits over the body. And now the Rebbe gave us 248 posigrams and 365 negagrams. And they also divide up connected the organs. There's some mitzvahs that, are related to the hand, are parallel to the hand. Some mitzvahs that are parallel to the legs. And like I'll say, all the organs, what's called Sefer HaCharedim, and the Sefer HaCharedim talks about it at great length. It says I was actually intending to add Sefer Haredim to stuff that we're doing, but all in good time. Mitzvah beza aver shora laso or Hashem also aver also or who mechai sevahu v'chein kol mitzvah. So when you do a mitzvah, with your right hand, it brings upon itself a divine light that juices up also the spiritual aspect of the right hand, and that ore of the mitzvah that's chal, that organ makes that organ worthy of resurrection, and to exist in Olam Haba. Nimta, so it comes out, when a person does the 248 positive commandments, you're now a whole person because you fixed your whole tselem that's holy for Hashem, with all your organs. This is what it says in Parsha Tzitzis. And then that we say in Shema, do all mitzvahs, and then you'll be holy for your God. Right? When you do all my mitzvahs, you yourselves become holy. But if God forbid you're missing one mitzvah of the 248 positive commandments, that you totally threw it over your shoulder. You didn't care less about it, and you didn't do tshuva for that. So now your soul will be lacking, that organ that is parallel to that mitzvah that you neglected. Is that much because of a bracha? So this is really what the Gemara means in bracha is, in Chafaf Hamad Aleph. Something crooked, something broken that you can't fix. That's if you miss Kriya Shema of Marav or Kriya Shema of Shachris or Tefillah, right, right, or tefillah, he didn't do it, at all, tefillah, all right, v'kshal zar milav or Torah, mamshich or kedusha again. So that's so first of all, the point is obvious that why can't you fix it? Well, you missed it. You missed it. You missed the opportunity. Now, it's talking about if you didn't do tshuva, obviously, right? Because you don't have that kriya shema, you don't have that mitzvah, right? Right, so whether you missed, Kriya Shema of Shachris or Kriya Shema of Arvis or Tefillah of Arvis, Tefillah of Shachris, you missed the mitzvah. And if you don't care to, to do Tashlumin or you don't care to do Tshuva, so you're going to be, what can't you fix about? Well, your organs that are connected that Kriya Shema or that Tefillah are going to be lacking. And the same thing is true. When a person is very careful to not transgress the low sases that are in the Torah, so then with that he brings back a light of holiness on the spiritual sinews of your soul. And if God forbid he's not careful, then God forbid they'll become your spiritual sinews will be ruined. Sefer Shar Kedusha, Sefer Shar Kedusha, Sharei HaKedusha. Rav Chaim Vital talks about this also. So now this alone should make a person contemplate and understand how he's got to be careful with all his Tarek mitzvahs, with all his might, all the days of his life. Because your mitzvahs are what bring down the divine light that gives you eternal life in the spiritual counterparts of your organs and sinews. And he adds over here for some reason in parentheses, and this is what it says in Parshas Acharei Mos. Do my chukim and mishpatim that a person do, and the man will live by them. Loksiv chayavuram, he doesn't say he will live because of them. And this is all it's here, that you live in them. It is, so what's the deal? Live in them as opposed to live because of them. Lorasanu, shara mitzvah gufa hichiyuso, right? That you live in them, that the or of the mitzvahs is your life, lasalava in the future, your eternal life. Well, what is the life source of your eternal life? the aura of the mitzvahs. Is the Ashiyas Adam v'chai b'hem in Olam Haba. That is your life force for Olam Haba. So now, if a person, just like a person wants to be complete in all his organs in this world, you shouldn't be blemished, even in the smallest of your organs. You don't want to tolerate any blemishes. You don't want to tolerate any physical blemishes. You certainly shouldn't want to tolerate any spiritual blemishes. Right, so certainly, if Frappe and Shemiras HaLashon, certainly so with guarding your tongue. If you will, cut your tongue loose, as in just talk freely, to be from those that are from the group of those who speak Lashon Hara in this world. So you're not going to, if you're talking Lashon Hara, you're going to be hearing Lashon Hara. It's going to be a Lashon Hara conversation. Hey, you got to give to get, or you got to, you want people to listen to you, you got to listen to them. So, speaking Lashon Hara undoubtedly leads to hearing Lashon Hara also. Right? And of course, you'll believe it like you want people to believe what you say. And of course, you want to hear Lashon Hara, so you have good material to say over somewhere else. Is the meat of a person who just goes, motor mouth, that's why it's called being rachel, like being a traveling merchant. The motor mouth, just like, merchandise, you buy it here, you sell it there. Same thing with Lashon Hara, you hear it here, you say it over there. Also, right, that's Mamash how the Toras Kohanim, which is the Medrash Halacha and Vayikra, and then Rashi right there says Rachel, just like the traveling salesman, buy here, sell there. The Lashon Hara speaker is also like that. He hears the gossip here and he says it over there. Buy here, sell there. So it comes out with Lashon Hara, you ruined your sense of speech and your sense of hearing. And for sure you'll be punished, parallel to it, in your soul with with these two these two senses, which are the power of speech and the power of hearing. Because on the prohibition of telling over Lashon Hara and Rachilus that you spoke with your mouth, you're over on the lav of Losech Rachil Ba'amecha, which is mainly with the mouth. And with listening to Lashon Hara and believing it, Paga Balav, right? You pogeh in the lav, lo tiso shem hashav, right? Do not, lo tiso shem hashav. So shem hashav could be hearing something that's vain. That's hearing Lashon Hara. It could be darshan that's talking about. Do not listen to vanity. What's empty, which is Lashon Hara. What is Salches Balavim, right? Sefer Chavetz Chaim, Balavim Atulim Baznai, Sefer Charedim rather, Sefer Charedim, Balavim Atulim Baznai, Kwashtak the Yerub Chavetz Chaim Klaidav, right? Also Sefer Charedim has counted Lo Sisa Shem Hashav. Sefer Charedim, it divides up all the Averos according to the organs. He counted Lo Sisa Shem Hashav as one of the Lavin that are totally in the Oznaim, and I copied down his words in Chavetz Chaim Klau Yud. Right, but Meir Maim Chaim, he wrote in the bottom a commentary and a super commentary and sourcing down in the Meir Maim Chaim and Chavetz Chaim Klau Yud. Yadua Shem Chushim Arashim Shentoy Tzuras Adam Shlei Musa Afil Balamazeh. So now, mouth and ear are two very, very central organs to the Tzuras Adam. In this world, right? As Kamo Shadua, Gamke Mamrom, the Chera Shein Shomev, and Madaber, Kamo Shotev, Cotton, Chol Inyan. So now, if you lack both hearing and speech, that's called the Chera Shein Shomev, and Madaber. the cherish that can neither hear nor speak. So if you're mamish lacking both, you have the same din as a cotton and a shaita, right? Right, also to make and also in Baba Kama, there's an interesting halacha that if you make a person deaf, you don't just you don't give him compensation, you give him his whole value as a slave, his whole value, because the shmiya is the ikra of the adam. That's the Gemara, and that the Maral talks about this a great deal. It's like a person's worthless. So hearing is like very very central, and speaking is right after it. So if in Olam Hazeh to be a cheresh, sheino shomei v'eno medaber, is like you're like a shaitan, a cotton, right? And cheresh on also to make kulo even in Olam Hazeh. So imagine how lacking you'll be in Olam Haba. When you are losing, you don't have your spiritual speech, you don't have your spiritual ears, right? You can understand how terrible that'll be. Olam Haba is all about hearing Torah and also sharing your chidushay Torah. You can't speak and you can't hear what's going on. It'd be very bad for Olam Haba. It's not even to say you're not going to be totally missing these senses of hearing and speaking, because you did speak some divrei Torah, you did hear some divrei Torah, right? And so it's Yoni Kedusha, Al Koparim, but still, Makukolim, Bavada, they're definitely ruined. They're definitely, corrupted. So, because you ruined them while you were still alive, lost our tshuva, and that's, of course, assuming that you didn't do tshuva, and you died that way, having corrupted them without doing tshuva. And now this is something that's understood to anyone with any understanding. Right, that even in this world, if a person really is, has a terrible speech impediment, or he really is, very hard of hearing, it causes you great pain, and then you become a great subject of ridicule, for how you don't speak well. Whenever you get up to speak, everyone laughs, and people make fun of how you are hard of hearing. So you are in great pain, and you're most denigrated about it than having most other blemishes, right? Because these are such major senses. A person's got to speak and a person's got to hear, right? So these blemishes are not. You're not going to be able to hide them. It's not like having a wart that you could, wear a cap, wear a scarf, wear something to cover it. You're going to have to speak, right? People are going to hear how you speak funny, and people are going to talk to you. You're not going to hear what they're saying. It's just not. It's not something that you could hide, right? רק שהוא מקלקל כוח הדיר והשמיע שלו, כמה בו שיגיע לו על ידי זה. שידעו לכל כי פגיע הסריר והשמיע שלו, הוא עבור שבעל לשון, מחלוקת בעולם הזה. Right, so certainly so in Olam Haba, right, he doesn't get into details, but in Olam Haba where all is revealed, there's no hiding anything. So if in Olam Hazeh you can't hide how your speech and hearing is corrupted, how much more so in Olam Haba where everything is revealed anyway. Now, he doesn't say the reason that I said, but I'm sure he meant it, that the whole Metzias of Olam Haba is all about hearing Divrei Torah. Speaking, they ask you to darshan and say over your Chidushay Torah, right? And, you will be spiritually full of speech impediment. You'll be spiritually hard of hearing. And if you wouldn't get a punishment, he says, of course there will be onish, and he's going to talk about that. Oh, baby, right? Of course there'll be punishment. Don't think otherwise, right? Of course there'll be punishment, right? But even if there wouldn't be, just the embarrassment you'll have, and everyone will know that you are hard of hearing, and you have difficulty speaking, in Olam Haba, because you were a Baal Lashon, a Baal Machlekes in this world. And it's well known. A person who conditions himself to this sin constantly, right? God forbid. it's very hard to find any type of cure for this bad habit. Moshe Razal, Chazal say, Shalasi Lovo in the future, Hakom Misrapim by Tchias Mesim, everyone who was blemished, gets healed. Chutz mi Balei Lashon Hara, except for those who were Balei Lashon Hara. Right? Im Kain Yagiel and Navsho Boshes Gadol Netzach. So you're gonna have such bushes in Lamaba for all of eternity because that doesn't get healed. Right? Yeah, everything else, you were imperfect, but in the schus that you're a ben olam haba, eventually your blemishes are fixed, not the blemishes of the tongue. Right? Vine the Kaman, Parakeh, take a look later in this book, in Parakeh, Mashe Taknu Mea Medrash, we copied on from the Medrash. Amar Rabbi Shimon, Uma Miriam, it's over there, where Shimon talks about the Busha, like, it's a Kavacham from Miriam who suffered, great, Busha from her Lashon Hara, her small amount of Lashon Hara. It's a small thing that she said that Moshe is not any better. Why do what he do? He's not better than us, even though. And she was his older sister, and like the Rambam says, Hilchos Tumas Tzaras, how much busha she got? Oh man, what's going to happen to us? So now we're showing that Mama she just said something by the wayside and got called out big time. So these are showing their content. They, wasn't something by the way. So that is their whole intent to say Lashon Hara on their friends and to try to ruin their lives by slandering them. So how much more Hashem will cut their tongues off. Hashem will cut off all the lips of those who speak, smoothly, smooth talk. And now this, this actually relates to the pasuk of Tsaras Nafsho, the pain of the soul, Yoser min hakol, right? And this, the pain of the soul more than anything else. Because by speaking Lashon Hara, you ruin your power of speech, which is called the shlemus of nefesh adam mitzad koach hadibur. Because we know what makes man, more than an animal is his power of speech. That's the power of speech comes from man's, nefesh, his nefesh elokis, right? You're ruining the shlemus of your koach hadibur, which is from the nefesh adam per se. Nefesh adam per se, and not from his biochemical life. Right, like Rashi explains, that's the famous unkos, Nishmas Chayim, Vedam Nefesh Chaya. The Nefesh, the lifeless man, Nefesh Chaya is Ruach Mimalala. That's the Nefesh Chaya that came from your Nishmas Chayim, that came from God. And that's what you're ruining when you speak Lashon Hara. So Mamash, it pains the soul more directly because the Koach HaDibur is more directly related to the soul more than any other, thing that the human being does. That's what it says. If you guard your mouth and your lashon, in this world, you'll save your soul from pain. Right? So meaning watch your mouth and tongue in this world so your soul won't be all, really totally shamed out by the resurrection and in Olam Haba. And that's also going back to the Melch, in Tillim. Right? That you want to live long, watch your tongue, right? Right? Why the tongue more than anything else? He's talking about Oev Yomim. You're talking about the eternal life, not talking about life in this world. It's talking about eternal life. Take a look how we're going to talk at length about this inside the book in the first 4 or 5 chapters. All right. Okay, we will stop here for today. I figure never more than half an hour, otherwise people won't stick with it. I hope so. We should all take this to heart. This was, I said, this is Chanan Wasserman's Mussar Sefer, this chelik of the Shemiras HaLashon. Okay, we will stop here for today.